Welcome to the Furlough Capital Real Estate Podcast, where we dive into the intricacies of passive real estate investing. And our mission is to equip people to invest wisely in both properties and residences so that together we can build wealth while improving housing. I'm James, and this is my wife, Jessie.
Hey, this is like the ongoing saga is our daughter's braces.
Yeah.
But which it was super fascinating. I watched them one time as they were like applying things because I had stuff done on my teeth, but you never get to like watch, your own teeth. And
You didn't get a mirror when you were a kid?
not while they were applying things. Oh, you had a nice orthodontist.
Oh, dude, my orthodontist was awesome.
Oh man, next time I should request that for Eleanor.
Sasaki, I think.
Dr. Atha was mine.
Yeah.
Anyways, so I was watching and they like put the things on and they put these little springs, like springy things. They're like putting pressure like both ways. I was just like, that is weird. And our daughter was also like, how does this actually do anything to my teeth? So of course we had to look on YouTube and now I'm terrified.
Oh, really?
It's so disgusting. If you're interested in learning about braces,
like a time lapse type of thing and watch them move? Or
no,
what?
that's actually fascinating. It's the whole process. I had no idea. When you put pressure on one of your teeth for an extended amount of time, the bone, like your jaw, actually dissolves around it, which is what allows it to move.
Huh.
And then when you stop putting pressure, your jaw will like re-solidify around it.
Oh.
But
Cool.
it's like, what? Oh.
Huh.
That's just, I get wigged out from like teeth falling out and.
Oh, well, make sure you brush and floss
Like,
and you'll be okay.
right? And I'm just like, okay, if we're paying a lot of money to make this happen. Like, please don't let your teeth all fall out. Like, I don't think they will. I think we'll be fine. But I'm just like, eh.
Yeah, it should be fine. Though I remember I had braces on just like the front teeth while they were doing some stuff. And then after that happened and I got my braces off, I lost like 4 teeth within a week. Because I finally had because the braces, turns out, were holding them all in place.
Gross.
And then they all grew back, and then I had to have braces again once the adult teeth came in to make it look pretty like it does.
There you go.
Yeah, so it's all good. Thanks, Mom and Dad, for paying for that. Appreciate it.
Some would say that's an asset.
My smile?
Oh, paying to create a nice smile.
Oh, okay. An asset for the orthodontist.
I mean, that's where the money's going, I guess.
Yeah. Which is actually what I want to talk about today.
You're investing.
I want to talk about assets and whether or not your home is an asset. Okay? Because I think many people, and I'm going to adjust this just ever so slightly. I think many people, they grow up thinking like, oh yeah, the home that you live in, it's an asset. Of course, we hear that all the time, right? Your home is your biggest asset, that kind of stuff. I disagree, actually. It's probably the easiest way to say it. I actually do not think that your home is an asset, despite what all of the world tells you.
Just to clarify, this is your own personal home that you live in.
Yes. Your primary home. Yeah. And it's basically because I've been brainwashed by Robert Kiyosaki. and I fully recognize that what I'm about to say here isn't the technical accounting definition of an asset, but I think when it comes to building wealth, using this framework that I've adopted of his, I think is just super helpful when you're trying to decide, hey, should I invest in this thing or not, right? Yeah. And so, super easy. An asset is something that puts money in your pocket. A liability is something that takes money out of your pocket, okay? Yeah. And really specifically from like a monthly cash flow standpoint.
Okay,
is how he tends to think about it. And so, if you think about like, okay, so a rental property, right? You sell it, they give you money, ideally more than your expenses. Yay! That by definition is an asset because there's money going into your bank account, into your pocket every single month. A car, on the other hand, is a liability because not only might you have a mortgage, or not a mortgage, but a loan that you're paying for it, you're also paying for gas, you're paying for insurance, you're paying for maintenance, that kind of stuff. In some ways, you're paying with your time, which is even worse than all of it. And so therefore, your car is a liability. Now, let's talk about your primary home, right? So if you think about it, like, so what are so for our primary home, right? Mm-hmm. Do we have any expenses?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, like
we've
what are
got
they?
heating,
Okay.
heating, air conditioning, electricity,
Yeah, all the
water,
utilities.
garbage, utilities, maintenance when stuff breaks.
Yep. We have a mortgage.
There's a mortgage. Yep, we make payments every month. So
Taxes.
keep it. Yeah.
Insurance, which are bundled into the mortgage payment, but they're definitely there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so is there any revenue that is coming in from our personal home that we live in?
I don't think so. Maybe from our solar.
No.
That's not really revenue. It's like stored energy that
Well, they don't actually get money for it.
we don't actually get money at. Like lowers expenses, I guess.
It lowers
slightly,
expenses.
but
Correct.
it's
Yeah.
it's not.
Because even if that goes into the red, it just credits your account.
All right.
They're never going to give it to you. They
Yeah,
just
so-
won't charge you in the future.
No, we do not make money off of
Yeah.
our
So
personal property.
if you go off of this definition,
Mm-hmm.
your primary home is a liability. And the name of the game is to increase buy as many assets as you can and decrease the number of liabilities or the amount of liabilities.
Yeah.
So by using this logic, what it means is don't go out and buy the biggest house that you can. Figure out, like, honestly, like the question you should be asking is not how big can we afford, but how small can we handle is really the question that you should be asking. And I remember, like, when we bought this place here, like it was a big deal because the house that we lived in was a 900 square foot place that we paid $60,000 for, and our monthly mortgage on it was $598.
Yeah.
That was
it was incredible.
including taxes and insurance
Yeah.
on that. And I mean, it was a great deal. And from that definition standpoint, like it was an awesome liability to own because not very much money was coming out of our pocket for it. And so it was great. And then we ultimately decided for lifestyle reasons, namely kid number 2, that it was time to upgrade and do something bigger. And I remember at the time, like we moved from, again, it was $600 a month to this one, which was $1,500 a month. I was just like, oh my gosh. Which today it's like, oh, how quaint. But in today's interest rate environment. But that was a big deal, right? And that was something that we had to talk through because we genuinely this is a living expense.
Right.
This isn't like we're, quote, moving up in assets.
No.
Now, interestingly, for that home that we were living in, we then got tenants into it.
Right.
And they were paying us $1,200 a month, plus they were covering all the utilities. And all of a sudden, boom, just like that,
became an asset.
became an asset for us.
But we weren't living in it, so.
Correct. Right.
So if you were to rent out a portion of your personal home and it covered your mortgage plus some,
Yeah,
is
100%.
that an asset
totally.
now?
Yeah.
All right.
And again, get away from the accounting technical definition of a store of value, right? Because that's how accountants think about it. Could you sell it for something? If the answer is yes, then it's an asset. In their definition, a car is an asset,
Right.
right? Because you can resell the car. Now you might be, quote, underwater because they're saying, well, you also have an attached liability to it, and that liability is worth more than the asset itself.
Right.
But again, that's an accounting definition. That's not how you actually live life. That's not how you build wealth.
Right.
It's all about focusing on, like, where's that cash coming
Cash
from?
flow. Yeah.
think-
That's how I've been able to wrap my head around it is using that definition of, is it putting money in my pocket today?
Yeah.
You know, if it's not,
Yeah.
then it's a liability.
Now you get some people, they're going to make the argument of like, well, you're building equity in your home, right? Either by mortgage pay down or appreciation, or there are certain tax advantages. Like you do get like a mortgage interest deduction, which I'm like, it's just a deduction on the expense that already happened. Like,
Right.
I don't like, it's not actually a quote savings, but
Yeah.
the building equity, right? And that's where they will say like, yeah, therefore it's an asset because the value, again, they can think accounting, right? The value of it's going up, even though every single month is costing them money. And I mean, you hear this all the time. People go, oh, I'm house poor, right? Like, yeah, I own this awesome house, but the cash flow is or the cash outlay is so much that it's squeezing me on my monthly budget. We can't go do much. I'm like, dude, that's not wealthy. Like, because yeah, great. Because in order for you to actually, quote, enjoy this wealth, you have to sell it.
Right.
Great.
And
That's
so
like,
you don't have it.
Yeah.
You're not actually enjoying it.
yeah. And so it's really like, again, it's kind of a narrow definition, but it's that idea again of like what is happening on a monthly level from cash either coming in or coming out of your bank account.
Yeah.
And yeah, you can have a rental that's a liability
Yeah.
for you. And
if you're spending money on it each month, that's a liability.
Yeah. And that's like, and sometimes that's okay, right? You go, I'm quote investing in this. I'm making it better so that in the future it becomes an asset. And it's okay. Things can flip flop between depending on where you're at with them. But I just think that's really, it's just such an important distinction when you're building wealth to really think like, okay, where is this? I thought this was interesting too. He has a quote in his second book, Cash Flow Quadrant, that says, when bankers say your house is an asset, they're not lying. When the government gives you a tax break for being in debt, it's not because they're concerned about your financial future. The government is concerned about its financial future. So when your banker, your accountant, your attorney, and your teachers tell you that your house is an asset, they just fail to say whose asset it is. Right? From a bank standpoint, right? That they send out a mortgage.
Yeah.
That
they
mortgage
are getting money in their
is
pocket.
an asset. Yeah, exactly. Like, we love your house.
Right.
Please go into more debt.
Yep.
And so I think also if you're a passive investor and you're lending out loans, those loans are assets to you.
Yeah.
Like, that's putting money into your pocket. It's awesome. Keep doing that, because the more money you can keep putting in your pocket, you can reinvest, you can spend it, do whatever. That is what real wealth is. It's that ability to go spend stuff, either buying back your time or doing really cool stuff with it, being generous in certain ways, whatever. That to me is the wealth. And the most effective way to measure that is by, is money coming in, coming out of your pockets. And the second you look at it that way, you go, oh my gosh, this house that I'm living in is not actually an asset. It's a liability. My goal, again, shouldn't be, let me buy a really big house so it'll appreciate over time. It's like, no, how small of a house can I handle? And just try to minimize my expenses. And Warren Buffett, right, famously lived in his house and hasn't moved, right? Because he thinks of it that way as well. To him, that's not an asset. It's a liability. And for him, the cheapest thing to do is just to leave it alone. It's a nice size house. He's fine.
Yeah.
But I think.
Does it ever make sense to buy, how do I want to say this? Buy a home that you realize in the future will be too big for you.
Okay.
With the intent of knowing that, like, when our kids leave, when our life changes, we'll downsize and we'll get the equity out of this and use it for something else. I mean, does that make sense? Like, that's how people think about it, right?
I guess, again, for me, think of your primary home as, really think of it as liability, as an expense. And how do you minimize it? I think, like, for like the kid thing, right? Have we bought if you need a bigger house because you have a big family, cool, awesome, go for it. And if in the future you recognize, like, oh my gosh, this liability that I have is way more than I need. Let me trade in this one for a smaller one, and that's a good financial move.
Okay.
Like,
but you're not, when you initially buy that house, you're not thinking of it as, this is an asset for my future because I'll be able to downsize. Well, you gotta live
somewhere, right? Sure. And heck, I think about like this house here, right? When we bought it, we paid $270, $260 for it, I think. And now it's worth around $500. Awesome. But cool. We sell it. Guess what? All the other homes are worth $500 now. Like, it's like, where's how good of an asset is this?
Yeah.
Like,
I guess if you were going to sell it and plan to live in a tent or something.
I think this way too, like, our interest rate on this place is less than 3%. Like, when we go buy a new one, it's going to be over 6%. Like, our mortgage will be higher. We'll get less house for the same amount. Like, it's just like, how in the world is that an asset?
Right.
With everything going up, there's real no advantage there. The only way you get that advantage is if you're getting cash every single month that you're able to take off the table. Cool, awesome. Or you figure out a way to, like, specifically add value to it, do the whole sweat equity thing. Okay, now we've made it more valuable.
Yeah.
Okay, like, sure, now sell it or refinance it, I guess. But for your primary home, like, I think you're better served to have the mindset of, my primary home is not an asset, it's a liability, and I want to do whatever I can to minimize that. What can I get away with for as long as I can? And there was a time where I wanted us to move into a tiny home, and oh man,
I remember,
because that was my whole mindset. Right?
I like all the cool contraptions. How small can we go? Yeah, I like all the cool contraptions, creative, storage and things like that. But I like my space.
I know. Hey, ultimately, and I think honestly, like, we've got a 1,200 square foot home.
Yeah.
That's
it's a good size.
It's a good size for us. We got a decent sized garage, which is where all my stuff is. So, so it all works out.
You have your man cave.
But yeah. And I think that's why we can get away with such a small house.
Yeah.
Relatively speaking to other people. But yeah, no, we ultimately decided like, no, that's the size that works for us and it's okay. But yeah, so here's the takeaway. Okay. Your primary home, do not think of it as an asset. Think of it as a liability, as an expense. And the name of the game is to minimize expenses while buying to free you up to buy as many assets as you possibly can. Passively investing in other deals like ourselves, those are assets that you're buying. And because they do put money in your pocket, those are good. Do more of those. And if you'd like to learn more about it, you can check us out at furlough.com. You can see all of our information, our investing thesis. You can see our portfolio of all the assets that we've actually bought over time. It's been quite a few. It's been pretty fun. But yeah, man, that's my message. Your primary home is not an asset. Get over it. It's okay. Awesome. I get it. Accountants disagree with me. Fine. Look forward to your disagreements in the comments, I suppose. But at the end of the day, I think the name of the game for your primary home is try to minimize expenses. Think of it as liability that helps you do that. Boom. Have I said it enough yet?
Yeah.
I
get it.
I truly think that way. Yeah, that's it. So hope you enjoyed that. Again, we'd love to hear your comments regarding that. And so with that, thanks for listening and have a great day.